Welcome back to the Mad Scientist Multi-Tool Lab, and today we are looking at several things you can do to add modularity to your multi-tool Leatherman wave. Now, what I have been working on is actually taking the Leatherman pocket clip and adding tools to it. Not the actual Leatherman pocket clip because it has this opening, but what I have been using is the Donk pocket clips, and they are flat and they work really well in the Leatherman wave. So the first mod I did was actually to add a pry bar to the Leatherman wave. I've heard a lot of people say they carry extra pry bars with them, and so I actually found this very cheap pry bar. You can get about 5 for $10 on Amazon, and it comes like so, and then I cut it down so you can see how I cut it down like that. And then I also cut down the pocket clip, the Donk pocket clip, and I ground down the edges so that it would fit in between here, and I ground down a channel so it would fit in the back, and then I drilled it and I riveted it as well. Now, as you can see, it's not a perfect job. Unfortunately, when I grounded, it came to the surface and it broke through. So that was a little bit disappointing, and also it has a little bit of play, well, a lot of play actually now, since I've been carrying it for a while. It's loosened up. So I would, in the future, if I was to carry this full time, definitely add another hole and rivet it twice so you had it was a lot more solid. These are made for testing purposes, so I didn't worry about them being perfect. Now, the next thing I worked on was actually adding a ratchet to the outside of the Leatherman wave. So I recently got this ratchet. This is a BDS ratchet. You can find this on Amazon. I believe it's maybe a German ratchet. Very slimline, very nice. It's got some really neat little 1/4 inch cut down bits. So that's pretty cool, and they fit in like so. And so what I did is it had a couple holes like this. It had 2 holes like that. And then the ratchet only extended out to about here. So I cut it down, and I did, on this one, I actually used a Dremel cutting wheel. And I cut after I cut it this way, crosswise, I actually cut the inside of the metal out so that I could fit the Donk pocket clip inside. Obviously, I cut down the Donk pocket clip. I took off about 2 inches or so, and then I drilled out the hole. Again, it was a piece of metal in here. This is different pieces of metal, and there's a spring that runs in between. That's how the ratchet system works. And so I drilled out the pocket clip. I drilled out what was already here, and then I was able to rivet that in place. Now, this one was a lot harder to do because that spring, this metal piece, unfortunately sort of swayed out of place. I lost the spring. I had to search on the floor for the spring for a while, finally found the spring, tried to get it into place, and then I was this metal sort of expanded because I was trying to bend this pocket clip, so I had to bend that back in place. This was actually a little difficult to work on, but I finally got it, riveted it in place, and I used a 1/8 inch rivet. Now, I'm actually just using the rivet gun and the rivets that come from Harbor Freight, and this is actually, they're called Fasten Pros, and they come with all these sizes of rivets, and I've actually found, I think it was $5 to $10, that was about the cheapest way to go. So, and just for some of these simple tasks, I didn't mind using that cheap rivet gun and the rivets. So I was able to use this on the Leatherman wave, and it does work some as a pocket clip. It's not going to work as well because you sort of want the profile where it goes up and slants down, and in this section, in this ratchet, it just is straight, so it doesn't work as well. Now, it actually works pretty good with the pry bar because it has that bend in it already, so that works pretty good. So just for a illustration purpose, you've got this tiny minimal ratchet, put it in here, and then it ratchets like so. All right. And then you can switch the direction of the ratchet on the side as well. Now, is that the best option for a ratchet? Before I go on, no, I do not claim to think these are the best options. Actually, I think something like this, there's the 7-Eleven ratchet. This is my own homemade version of it. But the 7-Eleven ratchet is probably one of the best ways to go. It's now up to $74 on Amazon because they added a torque socket, I think, with it, which is unfortunate. Sometimes you can get just the ratchet head. If you can, I would definitely pick that up. The only other option that seems viable, if you don't want to make it yourself, is to get the J-Cool ratchet. Now, unfortunately, these went all out of stock. I found this one on AliExpress, and it may be out of stock again, I'm not sure, but this is a 1/4 inch ratchet. You can use 1/4 inch bits in it as well, and then it just fits in. But for a normal Leatherman wave, you would have to have your adapter and then put this head in it. Now, of course, because I modified mine, I can simply take this out and then I can fit the ratchet head into place like so. So that is probably one of the best options for a ratchet if you want that on your Leatherman wave, but this is another option if you want a removable ratchet on your pocket clip. And I really think there's a big field where you could expand and add all kinds of tools to the pocket clip. And I think that's something that hasn't been explored enough. And someone eventually will take advantage of that and I'm sure come out with aftermarket parts. Now, my favorite mod is one I just did, and that is actually to add a couple extra tools to the donk pocket clip. So let me take that off here. And what I actually did was I got heat shrink, and then I took the donk pocket clip with the heat shrink around it, and then I heated it up, and now I have Victorinox tweezers in here. And then I also have the flint. And I already mentioned this before in another video, but this is the flint you can get from your Victorinox. Right now the name escapes me, but I have it close to me somewhere, but I will put that in the description below where you can buy that off Amazon. There are two different sizes. This is the longer version, and then there's a shorter version as well. So this is my favorite mod, actually. I like having those two extra tools, and it does still work as a pocket clip. And then I have modded, I did another video where I showed you that I modded and I added the ink pen to the Leatherman wave scale, like so. So I already have that one in there, and now I can add these extra tools in here as well. So anyway, that works out, and it's pretty nice. Some of these pocket clips, when you get them back in, it is a little bit of a chore, but now it fits back into place, and I really enjoy having those extra tools. Well, I better wrap it up, and I'll see you in the next video.